Hey everybody, Rob from Karma Comic Chameleon coming at you with another Choosing Beggars story. You washed his car, now wash my car. Also, please stay tuned for an important message from yours truly after the story. Let's jump right in. So this story takes place a few years back. I've moved out of the share house and into an apartment. I'm not sure if girlfriend was living with me officially yet, or if she just spent every day at my place and ate all my food. Joking baby, I love you, and no, she isn't the choosing beggar of this story. This is the story of my neighbor choosing beggar. So my new place was in a small apartment block pretty close to work. There were I think 12 apartments, and everybody got a single parking space under the building. Now when I first moved in, somebody was using my parking space for storage. The spaces weren't numbered, but there was a schematic in my lease that spelled out which one was mine. Think third space from the entrance, etc. Anyhow, after a couple weeks of back and forth with the real estate agent doesn't go anywhere until the management company threatens me with a fine for parking in the visitor spot all day when I walk to work. I point out that I'm trying to park in my spot, but it's filled with somebody else's crap. Think boxes of old clothes, books, and miscellaneous household items. Management pull their heads out of their bums, post a note on the garage door with a threat to remove the stuff, and hey presto, Choosing Beggar appears. Choosing Beggar is a woman in her 30s with 3 kids and a revolving boyfriend. Pretty sure I never met the same guy twice. Our first interaction was her ranting about how some asshole was making her move all her children's things out of her storage unit. She'd apparently had an agreement, bullied or guilted the previous tenant into letting her have the space for the last 3 years. But now some prissy little skinny she'd seen my girlfriend moving some of my stuff into the apartment, had taken over and was forcing her out. I just kept my big mouth shut, nodded along, and offered to help her move her precious hoard. I had to suppress a chuckle when she informed me that it was all going to the other vacant parking spot for the remaining unrented apartment. Sorry to kick the can down the road, number 12. Anyway, I'm carrying a second box that has no less than 8 DVD Blu-ray players in it, and when it occurs to me that some of this stuff is probably stolen. I mean, who has 8 DVD Blu-ray players? The kids, 7 to 12 years old maybe, seem nice enough, and it only takes maybe 30 minutes to move all of the crap. I bid Choosing Beggar farewell and vow to never leave the garage door unlocked. I have a few stories about Choosing Beggar and her thieving ways and the general stupidity of her revolving door boyfriends, but they might be more suited to a different sub. Now, cause all the parking spots were under the building, I used to park outside on the street to wash my car. I'm that guy with a bucket of car care stuff you see on weekends, festooning a vehicle that has absolutely nothing special about it with way too much love. So there I am, in the oldest rattiest home clothes I own, scrubbing my wheels and rubbing wax into paint when my neighbor, let's call him Jerry, pulls up. Now to paint a picture, Jerry is 70 and bent over like 30 degrees at the hips due to old age and a work injury 20 years ago. He walks with a cane but is very independent with the exception of a home help nurse that visits a couple times a week. Jerry gets out of his car and shuffles over to compliment my work. He laments that he has to take his car to the auto washer these days, and those gosh darn machines just don't do his baby justice. Jerry's baby is an early 2000s Camry. We commiserate our love of mediocre mass-produced vehicles, and I offer to wash Jerry's car for him. Jerry's eyes light up, and he's genuinely thankful. He says he can't let me do it for free, so he hobbles back to his car and drives off, returning a short while later with 2 6-packs of beer. Jerry and I drink a beer each and chat while I finish my own car and move on to his. It was a good afternoon of stories and beers, so I didn't mind in the slightest. When I was finished, Jerry pushes the second 6-pack into my hands and tells me I do good work. He might even hire me again in the future. This whole process is ongoing for a couple months. I wash, Jerry talks, and we just sort of hang out. At the end, there's always a 6-pack for my hard work. But evil was stirring in the background, for our happy car washing experience had been noticed by Choosing Beggar. The next time Jerry and I set up, Jerry by now has a lawn chair and a mini cooler for the occasion. I'm mid-wash when Choosing Beggar pulls up behind Jerry in her filthy minivan. Choosing Beggar and the kids get out, and Choosing Beggar says something like, "I'll be back in a little while." Now, naive me thinks she's talking about having trapped Jerry's Camry between my car and hers. Nope. Anyhow, Jerry and I finish up. I help him pack his stuff up and the cars go back into the parking garage. I'm minding my own business inside when there is a knock at the door. It's Choosing Beggar and this week's boyfriend. Choosing Beggar is livid. "You clean the old man's car? Why haven't you cleaned mine?" I'm confused, but I tell the dynamic duo that I didn't know I was supposed to clean her car. I only washed my own, and Jerry pays me in beer to help him with his. I don't owe either of them anything, and if they're so concerned about it, maybe they should clean their own vehicle. To his credit, this week's boyfriend just looks confused by the whole thing and is shuffling awkwardly, but Choosing Beggar doubles down. She's a single mother. Ouch. I mean, this week's boyfriend is right there. He might be the one. And she left the keys in the car to make my job easier. What if someone had stolen her precious vehicle? It would have been my fault. At this point, I'm done with this stupid conversation, and some other stuff Choosing Beggar has pulled is fresh in my mind, so I tell them to pound sand. It's a free street. If they want their stuff washed, they can do it themselves. Otherwise, quit bothering me with their BS. Our next car wash session, and a couple weeks later, this week's boyfriend, wow, this guy has staying power, shows up with a 6-pack of cheap beer and tells me to do the van first cause they need it later. Jerry and I laugh at him. I chuck him an old sponge and tell him he better get started if he wants it done quickly. This week's boyfriend sort of shuffles around while his brain computes. It must have got hot in his head, cause he drank one of the beers to cool down, then tells me to F myself, he can do it better anyways, drinks another beer, and goes inside. Jerry and I have another laugh and finish up for the day when a cop car rolls down the street. Now, my city has an ordinance against drinking on the street, so yes, Jerry and I were in the wrong here, but the street is very quiet, and before this, I have never seen a cop car just cruise by. 2 cops approach us and say they have a complaint about 2 men drinking heavily and abusing passerbys and people in the apartment complexes. I'm about to explain when Jerry looks the cops in the eye and says, "You caught me, officer." The cops share a look, but Jerry just keeps going. "I've been out here drinking, watching this fella wash the cars. I don't think I've drunk enough to abuse people and forget about it. But you caught me fair and square. Best take me away." He holds his hands out so they can slap the cuffs on and finishes with, "You might have to help me up. Can't stand without my cane." The cops are just sort of sharing a look like they don't know how to proceed with this confession. They look at the 3 empties neatly arranged on the lid of the cooler, shrug, and tell Jerry to put his hands down. We get a verbal warning about drinking in the street and told to enjoy our day. This week's boyfriend was later picked up by a different cop on an outstanding warrant after an anonymous tip pointed out his new unlisted residence to the relevant authorities. Turns out he wasn't the one after all. Jerry and I switched to Cokes, and the car washes continued until I moved out a year later. An update. Also, a couple people asked about Jerry. I haven't seen him in person in years. This story is a few years old. Greater than 5, less than 10 years sort of thing. He did wind up moving to be closer to his daughters as his back deteriorated. He was a good guy with a ton of stories and a good sense of humor. I hope he's still kicking out there somewhere. Hey everybody, I just wanted to say a quick thank you for all of the support you guys have given me and the Karma Comment Chameleon channel over the past couple of weeks. We had a little bit of a hiccup this week, but it was resolved after a couple of days, and now we're rebuilding the channel to make it stronger than ever. I've read your comments, and it was overwhelming the amount of support we had when the channel came back up. So thank you guys for that, I really appreciate it. If you're enjoying what you're watching and hearing, I ask you to consider becoming a channel member. Hit the join button, and you'll get access to a custom badge beside your name in the comments, and some custom emotes, and your own rank on our Discord server. This is Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon saying thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, and share the video with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.